Well, if a country doesn't have control of its borders, well, it's not really a country, is it? If anyone can just stroll in as they wish. And as usual, Douglas, the White House press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, is issuing what amount to bold-faced lies when asked about the migrant crisis and, in particular, Mayor Adams' comments. Let's have a look.
Why aren't you guys stopping the flow at the border?
We are stopping the flow at the border. If anything, what the president has been able to do on his own without the help of Republicans in Congress, something that he had to do on his own. The president has put a plan that is indeed, the data showing is that it is indeed slowing down the flow.
You know, I don't know how many times I've actually said this, but everybody's second favorite diversity hire, Karine Jean-Pierre, was just viciously embarrassed again, man. But this time it was not Peter Doocy, believe it or not. This time it was the New York Times. You know, she probably thought this was going to be some kind of easy one, some sort of friendly media softball. But the New York Times is not at all happy. They're not happy with the way the migrant situation is going in New York. They're not happy with the border situation, and they are not happy with what they now see is a racist Joe Biden. And I think we should thank KJP because she gave a pretty insane answer, an answer that I think proves that racism, at least the kind of racism that the left likes to use as some sort of modern day tar and feather, is just not real. And you know that it's not real when you're able to look at basically anything objectively and realize that the things that Donald Trump did to secure our country, and he was called racist for, are the very, very same things that 3 years into his presidency, after virtue signaling basically the end to all Trump border policies, now it's an election year, so now Joe Biden's pretending to care, but now Joe Biden wants to do the exact same things, and he can't get them done fast enough. And no one calls him racist. No one calls him xenophobic. No one even cares. No one's crying in white pantsuits at Biden's border. No one. It's just all hands on deck because we have got to protect this nation at all costs when the polling tells us to. That's the thing. We protect the country when the polling tells us that it might be important to more than a few voters. But obviously, unless we're completely overrun with clowns and complete and total freaks, there's probably no way that Joe Biden gets reelected. I really, really hope he doesn't. But if he is reelected, and God help us if he is, but I promise you, if he is, this border tough guy act, it'll be over by next February. I promise you that. But anyway, I don't even want to think about a Joe Biden reelection. What I do want to do is watch this pretty hilarious clip of Karine Jean-Pierre trying to explain why a closed Trump border was racist, but a closed Biden border is not racist.
Go ahead, Michael.
Back in the winter of 2018 and the spring of 2019, President Trump vowed to shut down the border with Mexico using almost the identical language that the president used on Friday. Many, if not most, if not practically all Democrats called that xenophobic and even racist. Why shouldn't people make the same conclusion about this president's threat to shut down the entire border with Mexico?
So we believe the new enforcement tools that currently don't exist, that will be, we believe that will be part of this bipartisan agreement, will be fair. We believe it'll be tough, but it will be fair.
But he didn't say he wanted to use, excuse me, sorry to interrupt. He didn't say, on day one, I will use enhanced enforcement to improve the processing of people at the border. He said, I will shut the border down, which suggests a total rejection of all people attempting to cross the border without a visa or without proper authorization, which stands in contravention to decades of international and U.S. law that governs the movement of people around the globe and the refugees and asylum system.
Yeah, no,
So why isn't that the same thing that Trump did?
No, I understand your question. What I'm saying to you, the new enforcement tools, right, that we believe that do not currently exist, that will be part of this bipartisan agreement, there are different definitions, right, of what that looks like, of what actually shutting down the border looks like, right?
Yeah, so she's talking about enforcement mechanisms that don't exist, which, of course, if you're paying attention, that's just lazy leftist semantics and misdirection. What she should say is enforcement mechanisms that don't exist anymore after they completely gutted every single one of the available tools that they had in the most costly first day virtue signaling of all time. I mean, just think about it. What if Joe Biden just went on, kept, talking about MAGA, talking about Trump and evil MAGA this and MAGA extremist that. But what if he found a way while he was doing that to continue at least some of the Trump policies? I mean, he could have literally just changed the name, called him something else. Liberals are really, really easily tricked. And just look where we would be, man. Look where he would be. I mean, if Joe Biden would have continued even half of Trump's policies, he could have faked his way into being remembered as the greatest president, maybe in forever, at least in generations. But the need to virtue signal was just too strong, man. It is so strong.
Right. So we're going to let them work through it. We don't know what that looks like exactly, right? What we are asking for, what the president wants to see, is that we deal with the challenges at the border, right? That we have an opportunity to deal with what's going on, the security, and make sure that we have the funding and the resources to deal with what we're seeing at the border. There are different definitions to what that looks like. And so we'll see what the text comes out of the Senate. And so we will certainly have a broader conversation once that happens. But we believe it's going to be fair. It'll be tough. It'll be fair. They'll have the resources available to deal with what's going on at the border, and also there'll be some policy changes as well. But to say that, to define what that looks like right now, it's getting ahead of the process, and we need to let Republicans, both Democrats, there are Democrats up there obviously talking to Republicans, they're both having those conversations on what it will look like, a bipartisan agreement, and that's what you need. In order to really deal with this issue, you got to do it in a bipartisan way.
Just to follow up, you've said a couple of times, as you did just now, that we should wait. You don't want to get ahead of the process. I think your answer to the previous question was that we don't know what's in it. Yet the president and the White House have explicitly said it should pass. And so how is it that on the one hand, the president has said, pass this thing and send it to me, but then when asked about it, you say, well, I don't want to get ahead of it, we don't know what's in it. How could you say you want to pass it when you don't know what's in it?
Here's the thing, both things could be true, and I'll explain why. The White House team has been part of, right, the negotiations, right? And the president has been getting regular updates, right? So obviously, no. What I'm saying is negotiations are still happening. They're literally still happening. They're still discussing this. If I tell you this is happening today, who knows what could happen the next day? And also, I don't want to get ahead of the conversations, right? I don't want to get in the middle of negotiations. And that is true. But the White House team has been really talking to and part of this discussion for the past 2 months. So the president has been getting updates. But at the same time, negotiations are still happening. And that's just the reality that we're in. And talking about that from the podium, that will have an effect on negotiations. And you know that, Michael. It would have an effect on negotiations.
Except the president didn't exhibit that kind of caution over the last few days, right?
For me, from here, I have to exhibit that type of caution. And the president is the president, right? And he wants to give confidence to the American people that he believes this is going to be, yes, it's going to be tough, but it's also going to be fair. And we have to, in order to deal with this situation, and it'll be a historic, if it gets done, this will be a historic deal. But, we have to get this done in a bipartisan way.
What do you say, man? That is just, it's complete and total nonsense. I mean, she says, just let us deal with the challenges and wait until we actually close it. Don't get mad at me, I promise. When I say close, I don't actually mean close. Just wait till it's closed and then we'll talk about it. I mean, apparently they plan to close the door, but they don't plan to lock it. I mean, all very, very confusing. I mean, maybe they're probably just going to use one of those old Western type saloon doors that just all floppy and pointless. That's what I think they would prefer. But she says, wait until we see the Senate bipartisan agreement. You'll see. And I think we will see. And if this agreement is even 10 times tougher, if this agreement is even 100 times tougher than we're being told, it'll still be completely worthless. Allegedly, they're talking about closing the border daily after a 5,000 person limit gets hit. I mean, if they could just close the doors at 5,000, I'm curious to see exactly how that works. But I guarantee, I mean, the people that they invited to come brave the deserts and brave the rivers, they're not going to let you just close the door on their face when they're trapped on the other side. They're not going to take it. And they're going to run right over our weak, overrun border forces and whatever we have going on down there. They're not going to stand a chance. And whatever she's saying just doesn't make sense. And what really doesn't make sense is putting some obscene and insane daily cap on it. 5,000 a day, that is not enforcement. That's management. That is just management. These are not the same things. That is not border security. They're going to tell you that it is, but it is not. And just listen to her language, man. Whatever we do will be fair, she says. What does that even mean? What is fair? Fair to who? Fair to the people from around the world waiting in line legally? I mean, fair to them? Fair to people losing loved ones, dying of fentanyl? Fair to the migrants who are dying in our desert? I mean, who is our border policy supposed to be fair to? I mean, these people don't have a real clue. What it's not fair to is any of us. But that's just my take, guys. Let me know yours in the comments. And if you haven't already, please be a part of the channel's growth. This is going to be a really, really big year for conservatism, and we need every bit of help we can. So make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, share the channel. I'll see you in the next one.